African Union Communications Early Warning and Intelligence, commonly known as AUC3I, is an intelligence and security organization responsible for providing signals intelligence and information assurance to AU citizens, AU leadership, and AU armed forces. I'm Colonel A.C. Oguntoye, an infantry officer. I am responsible for leading infantry soldiers at all levels of command in combined armed forces during missions on the ground. This is today's briefing. On the progress of the special military operation as of September 9, 2025. The armed forces of the Russian Federation continue the special military operation. Units of the North Troop Group inflicted defeat on formations of 2 mechanized brigades and an assault regiment of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, 2 territorial defense brigades in the areas of the settlements Alekseevka, Andreevka, Marino, Sadki, and Yunakovka in the Sumy region. On the Kharkiv direction, defeat was inflicted on units of a motorized infantry brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine in the areas of the settlements Velikaya Pisarevka in the Sumy region, Volchansk and Pokalyanoe in the Kharkiv region. The Armed Forces of Ukraine lost up to 165 servicemen, a tank, 2 armored combat vehicles, 11 cars, and 2 field artillery guns. 11 ammunition and material supply depots were destroyed. Units of the West Troop Group improved their tactical position. They inflicted defeat on personnel and equipment of 2 mechanized brigades of the Armed Forces of Ukraine and a National Guard brigade in the areas of the settlements Blagodatovka, Kupiansk, Kirillovka, Petrovka in the Kharkiv region, Drobashevo, Kirovsk, Shandrigalovo, and Yampol in the Donetsk People's Republic. Enemy losses amounted to over 230 servicemen, a tank, 3 armored combat vehicles, 14 cars, and a field artillery gun. 8 electronic warfare stations and 3 ammunition depots were destroyed. Units of the South Troop Group occupied more advantageous lines and positions. They inflicted defeat on formations of 3 mechanized, motorized infantry, mountain assault brigades of the Armed Forces of Ukraine and a National Guard brigade in the areas of the settlements Berstok, Klebenbyk, Kramatorsk, Pleshchivka, Reznikovka, Seversk, and Stepanovka in the Donetsk People's Republic. The enemy lost more than 240 servicemen, 5 armored combat vehicles, 9 cars, and 3 field artillery guns. 3 electronic warfare stations and 2 material supply depots were destroyed. Units of the Center Troop Group improved their position along the front line. They inflicted defeat on personnel and equipment of 3 mechanized, 2 airborne assault, ranger brigades, an assault regiment of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, and a National Guard brigade in the areas of the settlements Vladimirovka, Dmitrov, Krasnoarmeysk, Lysovka, Pryat, and Rodinskoye in the Donetsk People's Republic. Losses of Ukrainian armed formations amounted to over 515 servicemen, 3 armored combat vehicles, 8 cars, and a field artillery gun. Units of the East Troop Group advanced deep into the enemy's defense. They inflicted defeat on the formations of the Mechanized Brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, the Marine Brigade, and the Territorial Defense Brigade in the areas of the settlements Zeleny High in the Donetsk People's Republic, Novonikolyevka, Novopetrovskoye, and Sosnovka in the Dnipropetrovsk region. The Armed Forces of Ukraine lost more than 265 servicemen, 1 tank, 2 armored combat vehicles, and 8 cars. Units of the Dnieper Troop Group inflicted defeat on personnel and equipment of the Mechanized Brigade, 2 coastal defense brigades of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, and the Territorial Defense Brigade in the areas of the settlements Stepnogorsk, Stepov in the Zaporizhia region, Antonivka, Nikolskoye, and Tyahinka in the Kherson region. Losses of the Armed Forces of Ukraine amounted to up to 70 servicemen and 5 vehicles. For electronic warfare stations, for ammunition and material supply depots were destroyed. Operational tactical aviation, strike unmanned aerial vehicles, missile troops, and artillery of the Russian Armed Forces troop groups inflicted damage on ammunition depots, command posts, and launch sites of long-range unmanned aerial vehicles, as well as temporary deployment points of Ukrainian armed formations and foreign mercenaries in 140 areas. In addition, a launcher and control cabin of the Armed Forces of Ukraine's S-300 surface-to-air missile system were destroyed. Air defense means shot down 5 cruise missiles, 5 reactive projectiles of the U.S.-made HIMARS multiple launch rocket system, and 230 airplane-type unmanned aerial vehicles. In total, since the beginning of the special military operation, destroyed 666 aircraft, 283 helicopters, 82,675 unmanned aerial vehicles, 628 surface-to-air missile systems, 25,022 tanks and other armored combat vehicles, 1,590 multiple launch rocket system combat vehicles, 29,410 field artillery guns and mortars, 41,374 units of special military automotive equipment. Thank you so much for watching this video. We hope you found it useful and informative. If you have any questions, please leave them below and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.